Greetings! What is up, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1v1 battle fresh from the ladder. Featuring spawning in the south. It's gonna be the austere forces of Juxquiyui. Picked a real pickle of a screen name there, mate. Juxquiyui. That is... okay. Nice work. And spawning in the north, playing as the Soviet forces, it is going to be El Dorado, the golden fish. So, yeah, map's going to be Crossroads. We've got ourselves some pretty vanilla factions in the game. Picked this game off the live game ladder. It was pretty near the top of the ratings, but it was also featuring Wehrmacht against Soviets, so I thought that'd be a welcome break from all of the USF and OKW antics that we've been seeing plenty of recently on the channel. Let's have a looky here at the commanders these two guys are packing. Looks like we've got... Okay, I'm going to say this is like... So it's Mechanized Assault Doctrine. Yeah, this one we know. Spearhead Doctrine. Yeah, this one we know. And this one's like... Mechanized something... What is this guy? German Mechanized Doctrine. Okay, this is the only one of these that I don't particularly know very well. So you get the Mechanized Grenadier Group, the Smoke Bombs, the Spotting Scope, the Command Tank, and the Lef 18 Artillery. Okay, very interesting. I do quite like a Spotting Scope commander. They are... The spotting scope is fun because it adds so much value to the stug. Stugs with spotting scopes are basically a completely different animal than stugs without spotting scopes. So, I don't think it... I don't know, actually. Maybe it is this one. I don't know. I can't remember which one I used to run back in the day. No, I'm pretty sure I run the... I used to run the guy who has the elephant and the spotting scopes, now I think about it. That used to be a commander which I would keep on the roster. Less these days. I don't tend to keep him on the roster these days. But anyway, I digress. Looks like we've got MG42, triple grenadier, also standard so far. We got quad conscripts, no tech here from Dorado. So, looking at his roster, he has got two commanders which lend themselves quite nicely to a tackless opening. He's got the Soviet Airborne and he's got the Urban Defense Tactics? No, that's not him. Defensive Tactics. It was something to do with Defensive Tactics. This guy, anyway, who gets all of the early game stuff. Oh, he gets anti-tank Overwatch now as well. That's interesting. And, of course, he's got the Motor Coordination Tactics, Guard Motor Coordination Tactics, which we're kind of used to seeing these days. So it's nice that Spearhead and Guard Motor Coordination Tactics are making, like, quite a resurgence in the meta, it appears, at the moment. They're two commanders relatively dear to my heart, to be honest. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Looks like nothing especially gross or one-sided or fantastic occurring in this early game thus far, but we are but 3.5 minutes into this game. Looks like a fight going to be taken here. Reasonable concave for the German player. Soviet forces are in green cover and at close range though, so and a flamethrower finishing up midway through the fight. Going to be useful. These grenadiers just going to have to pull back a little bit here. So I don't know. Looks like the German forces are just about going to take this one. Flammenwerfer Pioneers going to be striking in here, looking to clean up these Soviet units. Is that going to be a possibility of a squad wipe? This conscript squad is quite low, and it is falling back past a couple of Axis units here. Okay, that's possibility of a squad wipe now. Oh, but the focus fire just not quite coming down. The Grenadiers forced to fall back, and no focus fire coming down off these Pioneers, so getting away with it there is El Dorado. Oh my goodness, this Flammenwerfer just inflicting gruesome losses. Those conscripts were super piled up and in cover. Whoa, what's going on here? Dorado, buddy. Dorado! Jeez. Playing it pretty fast and loose with these... pardon me, with these conscripts. But anyway, down in the south of the map, we've got some conscripts grabbing fuel, so at least one thing going well. Cut off, of course, is being cut off right now, so... I'm just going to have to call this guy, like, Yuiat, or just At or something, because this is, like, an unpronounceable mess. So, I mean, At, unfortunately, is another word, though, so it's not very clear either. Quiyu? Quiyu. Quiyu is doable? We could call him Quiyu. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, though. Anyway, so it looks like Quiyu, you're here, going to be getting an MG42 up in range of the cutoff here, which is super annoying. The Soviet player has reconnected this for now, but here comes some Grenadiers looking to cause some mischief here. We're going to just go for a fallback here. I don't know. Yeah, fair enough. I guess you can fall back there. Looks like Quiu, no interest in pursuing the matter here. I have to say, these early fights definitely, and slightly more field control going the way of the Axis player here, so possibly a slight lead for our Wehrmacht player here. It's going to be a 2-2-2 opening here, so like the Mechanized Company has finished. Here we go. Looks like the medical bunker also operational now. Support weapon Campanier has been the choice of tech here, and it's going to be a Soviet airborne doctrine tactic here, a Soviet airborne strategy from El Dorado, and sounds like we've got those weapons beginning to appear now, looking to put SVDs onto his conscripts. Always really nice. This is just such an interesting commander. Oh, sorry, no, this is a Dansak he's calling in here. There is actually no squad back here to grab that one, so I guess the next squad to fall back will be manning that Dansak. 222 is going to reveal itself down here in the south. Yeah, using my favourite camouflage. Love me a stripy Wehrmacht vehicle. And that will be policing Soviet infantry around the map here. Going to be looking to curtail the Soviet operations. Got a multi-unit fight coming down here in west of map, so this one likely to be somewhat important. A couple of squads from each side committed here. Grenadiers super low, falling back across negative cover. That is dicey stuff. Ura comes down to get these conscripts around the arc of the MG42. That they actually get around. Anti-vehicle grenade research has finished as well, so 222 going to have to keep its distance from these Soviet core infantry. This is a 2-2-2-2 tactic, actually, as we can now see. Wow, these 2-2-2-2s just going to be lawn mowing these conscripts. This is like, oh my goodness me. Well, here comes the first anti-vehicle grenade. Nice, going to connect handily there. Well, man, this is still a lot of autocannon and Dakar to be dealing with, though. So this 222 needs to GTFO. These conscripts Ura is just about recharged, and they will be able to run down. So that's basically a dead 222 as long as El Dorado doesn't screw up the execution, which he does appear to be doing. There we go. Gets through. Looking for the AT grenade. He's got to make it. Yep, there it is. So that's a 222 destroyed. Wow, so, I mean, I don't know, you can't really be... If you're going for 2-2-2-2s, it's a shame to lose one like that. I mean, obviously that's not what Quiu was going for. You know what, I'm just going to call him UAT, because that's just a much easier thing to say. UAT. Alright.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory.
Panzer Grenadiers here, going to be added onto the roster here for UAT. The Dansak spicy machine gun has been manned. Conscripts on that one. It's going to be moving out onto the front here. Find some Grenadiers under its arc, but it looks like they're going to slink away here. Where's the MG42 and all this? Okay, MG42 set up in a lovely position, capturing so many Soviet troops under its arc. Dansak here gets deployed. These Soviet forces are going to have to GTFO. LMG-42s are popping up on some of these Grenadier squads now, which means that the DPS is absolutely real. And yeah, you can't stay there trading to the face on that one. Whoa, the Dansak also going to get up and decide to get out of here. Oh no, this MG-42 just reaping rewards here, paying dividends. Catching 3 squads of Soviet infantry. And this should provide a nice position here for the Axis player to leapfrog forward and potentially go for another cutoff here. He's rebought the second 222, so this is like a third 222. A Drittens 222, if you will. And so, yeah, going for a very fast, very mobile, very hard-hitting style, mixing in a pack gun as well, so as not to be caught off guard by a potential T-70. That, of course, coming out at pretty good timing here. The mechanized, the Tankovy Battalion Command just finishing up now. So, yeah, that's gonna preempt any possible T-70 here, and to be honest, I would be a bit surprised if the Soviet player goes for a T-70. I don't think it looks like a particularly good choice right now. Your opponent already has 2 222s, and when there's 2 of them, they can kind of push a T-70 around quite a bit. And yeah, if he gets wind of this pack gun, I think he should definitely not build a T-70. Just save your fuel for now, it's absolutely fine. Build something else. If you really feel like you desperately want to get a choice, you could get an Su-76, that wouldn't be terrible. You know what, I haven't seen an Su-76 forever, which kind of tells me that it's probably a bit rubbish right now, I'm not sure. Yeah, it might be quite bad at the moment, not sure. But yeah, it's always been an interesting unit, one that I've always quite liked. It's a sort of Tank Hunter Light with an indirect fire artillery mode, which, as I recall, doesn't cost munitions. It's like a free Zisgun barrage. And Crossroad is a small map. You can always find good targets for that barrage. So yeah, I wonder why we don't see Su-76s at the moment. Probably somebody out there, if you have the answer to that question, please do let me know in the comments. I would be curious to hear why we don't see Su-76s. How much do they cost these days? 75, 280, it seems pretty cheap. A true multi-role vehicle with good anti-tank and artillery capabilities. Sounds great to me. Getting a GR34 added into the roster. Oh no, it is going to be a T-70 here for Eldorado. I don't know. I feel like with Company of Heroes, like, the player base of Company of Heroes, I think, are slightly less good at adapting their build. Like, I think a lot of people come into Company of Heroes 2 with a preferred playing style and a comfortable unit composition that they feel very confident using, and they don't necessarily adapt and react to the tech choices and sort of behavior patterns that their opponents show. And in Company of Heroes 2, you can do that. Like, this T-70, it's bad. Well, it's bad in some ways for the reasons I mentioned. There's already two 222s, and there's a pack gun on the field. But the T-70 with the right micro, if you take the right fights, like, it can still do fine here. And that's very different to other RTSs, where if you choose the wrong unit into a composition which counters it, like, I mean, let's compare to StarCraft 2. If you are building, like, loads of Marines, and your opponent already has, like, 2, 3, 4 Colossus, then, like, you're gonna have a bad time, you know? Like, if you build the wrong unit into the appropriate counter in StarCraft, its effectiveness is so slim, it's so, like, just destroyed by its counter. Whereas in Company of Heroes, even if your opponent has the appropriate counters, the unit is still quite useful. Like, it still has definite presence, it still can be used, it can still find value on the field, and it can even beat its counters. Like, the counters in Company of Heroes are just a little less hard, I suppose, than in some other RTSs. So anyway, we're gonna see a T-70. I'm gonna stick by my guns here and say that this is a pretty bad T-70. I just don't think this really respects what the Axis player is doing. Like, I just don't see how you're really going to find an opportunity for this T-70 to be very good. So, I don't know. Looks like the pack gun, though, for now, heading the wrong way. There are no targets for it over there in the east of the map. 222 going to be flumping some rounds in here. The other 222's actually had its engine broken, which I missed. And the T-70 is going to pick up an MG team here, very likely anyway. This guy's going to go for a run here, but he's just about getting out there. Pack gun gets set up, initially rolling a miss on its first shot. So for now, this T-70 gets a bit lucky, finds a break, finds an open machine gun, which it can abuse, and gets missed by the opening pack gun round. So that's pretty lucky stuff for a T-70. So it's going to be able to maintain its presence on the field, gets the double cap, so it's the Axis player who's now under the clock, finds himself 4-3-2 over 4-1-2. So relatively even as far as the scoreline goes, testament to how there's been an even early game. And looks like we're going to transition into the mid-game here. A nice healthy mid-game with two chunky meaty armies ready to take each other on. Second Dansack has been added into the roster here for the Golden Fish. And it is a Dorado, right? I'm not making this up. If I've just got this wrong, then everyone's going to be very confused. But a Dorado is the famously golden fish, right? I'm going to have to Google this when the cast is done. Anyway, yes, we got second pack gun coming up here. Not sure what I think of that second pack gun here for you at. That's an interesting choice. I feel like you can wait on the set, because if you have a pack gun and 3 squads of grenadiers and 2 222s, and you know that your opponent has a T-70, I feel like you can wait on the pack gun for a little while. The second pack gun, like, wait for your opponent to commit to a second T-70, or like a reason it's an Su-76, or a reason for you to build another pack gun. Hey, we're going to see an Su-76 in the very game that I was just talking about how I would like to see one and haven't seen one for a long time. Excitement. Nicely done. It's almost like Dorado, even though he's playing in the future, because of course this replay is a few minutes behind what's actually occurring in real time. Definitely heard me in the past saying that I'd love to see an Su-76. So anyway, yeah, we've got GR34 on the field. That has been looking okay. We saw some shells coming into this building. Soviet player going to be looking to answer it, of course, with a mortar tube of their own here. And that'll be just fine. Where's this pack gun headed? So both pack guns sort of milling around in mid. Looking a little bit sort of chaotic here. Su-76 does not get cancelled, so 100% confirmed we're going to see Su-76 in this game. That's exciting for me. So yeah, looking forward to. I hope this I hope we get to see this Su-76 vet up and do nicely. Speaking of which, let's just quickly check. Oh, wow, the light artillery barrage does cast munitions. Huh. Maybe that's why we don't see Su-76s so often these days. So we get the tracking veteran ability. Increases sight radius. Infantry can be tracked through toggle on the minimap. Okay. We get the improved damage output and accuracy, and finally we get rate of fire and sight the main gun. So I think that's like time to shoot or something. I don't know. Alright, so some reasonable veterancy upgrades there. As ever, Soviet vehicle veterancy upgrades, like the first one, just tends to be kind of rubbish, so that definitely, the trend continues here with the Su-76. Like, I'm sure tracking has its uses, but is it as good as, like, Blitzkrieg or, like, Panzer, or, you know what I mean, like, rapid Panzer movement? Like, it's not really. In fact, Allied vehicles generally just have, like, fairly limp one-star veterancy. So anyway, interesting fight being taken here. German forces angling to try and find a way in to this conscript line here. T-70 in support. Meanwhile, over in the west of the map, looks like a Danzak machine gun getting repulsed by a lone mortar, who was somewhat suppressed, actually. So we don't really know how that Danzak is falling back, but it is. The 2-2-2-2s here just like lawnmowering these conscripts, looking pretty brutal here. Two pack guns getting set up, but again the T-70 getting so lucky. There's like a little intervening razor wire and tractor here, which caught two pack rounds. So yeah, the T-70 going to GTFO for now. Looks like support armor core has finished for the Axis player, and we've got a Panzer IV coming out. Interesting, actually. Yeah, he's able to get this Panzer IV out at a pretty reasonable time. I suppose it only costs 120 fuel if you're playing as Wehrmacht, rather than the 145 that OKW have to pay. This is a relatively timely Panzer, given that this is a game where we've seen no tech building skipped. We've seen three 2-2-2-2s. We've seen three 2-2-2s. And we're still having a Panzer IV coming out, was going to be out by the 17 and 22nd-ish mark, so that's actually pretty damn good. This Su-76 duffing up these 2-2-2s, they just cannot stay around here. Pack gun's going to come forward, but the Soviet player senses this, going to fall back his Su-76 for now. Woo! Finding a hit onto the T-70, that's risky, whoa! The other shot misses. This T-70 rolling some pretty lucky Pack 70 impacts, or shots, I should say.
Forces are attempting to capture our territory.
Alright, so the Panzer IV going to make its presence felt here. Diving hard into an opponent he knows has an Su-76, conscripts with grenades. And I mean, he's going to find out about the Zis gun very soon if he doesn't know about it already. So, pretty ballsy stuff here from UAT, who's going to go ahead and choose his commander. He goes for the Spearhead Doctrine. This makes some sense. He's got 3 vehicles on the field, so Panzer Tactician going to be immediately beneficial as a potential lifeline. He's stacking like 300 munitions, so he can Panzer Tac his heart out right now. Anytime when one of these vehicles is going to die, we can expect to see the smoke package fired off of it to sustain its life a little longer. Speaking of sustaining life a little longer, though, UAT trailing now, the scoreline differential definitely opening up. The Soviet player has been able to hold this position here for a little too long now. The Axis player, I mean, 3 Squads Grenadiers, 2 Pack Guns, 2 2-2-2s, and a Panzer IV, and an MG-42, and a GR. You know, this is a great army. I don't think there's no excuse for letting the Soviet player just have mid here. I mean, what are we doing here? Axis units are just sort of milling around, like, you need to displace your opponent from this position, or else you're just going to be bled out and then have to have a really difficult late game. So, donk, the anti-vehicle grenade manages to connect with the Panzer IV, but it was at full health, so doesn't get its engine broken just yet. The 2-2-2-2s are going to shove conscripts out of the east of the map here. GR34 finds itself overrun by conscripts, going to have to fall back from this position, but how is the Axis player not just getting their stuff together and just like mounting a determined assault on this position? You have the indirect fire, you have the anti-tank support, you have the core infantry, you need to take back central VP, in my opinion. But he's just kind of getting pushed back, a lot of units just kind of in base. Just these 2-2-2-2s and the 2 pack guns have been so unactive this game. That is not cool. They've just been like just milling around this area. Why are these 2-2-2s not being active? Do something. They're really good. So I don't know. Not quite sure I understand the plan here for UAT. We're going to see. UAT even getting cut off here. Conscripts just wandering down from the middle of the map, and they're going to get the cut off. There were 2 2-2-2s in the area here. How has one of them got their engine what? And now a T-70 feels brave enough that it wants to come in and look for damage. This could be a dead T-70 now. Gonna take 1 hit from a pack gun. And there we go, yeah, we'll get taken out. So Dorado also just, that's an overextension with his T-70. I mean, yeah, okay, it would be nice to kill a 2-2-2, but you know that your opponent has pack guns here. You've had units just here, You've had units just here. You've seen the pack guns here a lot. You know the pack guns are here. Why are we driving this T-70 into Fog of War to try and find hits on a 222? If the 222 was like a one hit, then maybe you can come in and try and fish for it, and you might get out with the T-70. But that 222 had like half its health still. That is not a one hit for a T-70. And there are 2 pack guns there, so I don't know. I think that's a pretty bad decision to just drive the T-70 into Fog of War, trying to find a kill on a 222 that you suspect is out there. Like, I don't know. Doesn't seem great to me. Pardon me. What is this? That is the fragmentation grenade bombing run. Frag bombing run. Not grenade bombing run. But yeah, so that's going to destroy the Dansak crew here. I think that was a Dansak crew. Yeah, it was. So that's pretty good. Panzer IV is being active on the map, though. That thing is vetting up nicely. Grenadiers shoving out. There are TM-35 mines present on this road, so keep an eye on the mini-map. Listen for those explosions in the distance as I pan the camera to other action. Su-76, just... Whoa, what are we doing here? Okay, so it finds a 222. That's nice. Where are the pack guns? Why aren't they punishing this? Oh my god, these pack guns are just not having a good game right now. Look at this. They've got, like, no veterancy at all. Well, I mean, they've got some, but it's not great. And, alright, so Panzer Grenadiers here going to get up on top of these conscripts. MG42 also has them in arc. They've got some pioneers. These pioneers actually think that they're capturing this point, but they're not, so that's a little bit frustrating there. Was this another frag bombing run going to come down into this position here? Don't think it actually got any unit wipes, so that's acceptable. I'd love to see a second Zis gun or something from the Soviet player. Mechanized armor Campanile has finished, so the Soviet player now with access to the entirety of the Soviet tech tree. Panzer IV here, totally stricken. Su-76 finding some sick hits here. Going to get the Panzer IV. Beautiful stuff here. Pack guns, though, looking for the trade. Finding a lot of hits, but not going to get the kill. So Su-76 looking a little bit clever here, looking a little bit sneaky. Gunner GTFO, 2 stars of veterancy, and a lovely Panzer IV kill tucked away there. So, loving what I'm seeing here. Conscript's getting massacred, though. This is a lot of Grenadier for a Zis gun to be dealing with. And the roster here, if you look in the top right, despite finding a Panzer IV in that last phase of play, the roster here not looking super clever for El Dorado. This is 4 squads of conscripts and 2 support and like 2 weapon teams and an Su-76 against a really well-rounded Axis army. I definitely like the Axis roster a little bit better right now. We've got a T-34 going to be added in so for the Allied player. Whoa, this is so clustered up. You know your opponent has a mortar tube. What are we doing here? But yeah, so we're going to see a T-34 coming out here. And I don't know. He had so much fuel. I guess if you've just killed your opponent's Panzer IV, you can get this T-34. It can support your Su-76. So the pressure to get an Su-85 is not so pronounced because you already have an Su-76. You have a Zis gun. You had a Zis gun. Did that get destroyed? Yeah, okay, so alright, no Zis gun. But you have an Su-76, so you have a measure of dedicated anti-vehicle fire. 222 gets picked off here by conscripts. But yeah, so I think this T-34 better than some I've seen picked recently. Your Axis player is definitely somewhat on the back foot, and those are usually when the best T-34s start finding the best value and like really doing really well, when your Axis player is firmly on the defense. So yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to judge this this T-34 too hard. In fact, if he's going to get the T-34 train rolling, if he's just going to constantly build T-34s, I could actually see this game snowballing, depending on how this first T-34 goes. But yeah, if you just keep building them, I could see UAT just getting snowballed out of this game here. So Shreks have finished on the Panzer Grenadiers, so there is some more anti-tank capability being mixed into the roster here for UAT, but I mean, these pack guns just, they have been so bad this game. It feels like they spent the whole game chasing armor around without really finding any sweet shots. They did get the T-70 earlier, but I mean, these have not been the best pack guns. UAT stacking a ton of resources. Is he going for Battle Phase 3? No. So what are we doing with all this money then? Of course, it's a Tiger commander, but you still need Battle Phase 3, so you should click on that button soon. Alright, so how much manpower is a T-34? 300. 90 fuel. God damn, they're such a good unit, aren't they? They're so cheap. Love them. Finding some nice hits here with the main cannon on the T-34, just chalking in for damage. Mortar squad going to be capping this point back here. So the Axis player continues to fall into deficit as far as the scoreline goes. 257 under 412 now. Never really under a triple cap, just bleeding the slow bleed as this game goes on. Going to be probably losing his fuel point here. In fact, if we crack the tack, very few Axis units actually out on the map right now, many of them reinforcing at home. And I don't know, I guess we're not far away from Tiger here. He still needs to buy Battle Phase 3, doesn't he? Yeah, he still needs to buy that, and it costs just 25, so yeah, he's not too far away from Tiger 1. I feel like too often, though, Axis players just fall into this trap of saving for Tiger 1. Or just like whatever the Tiger option is that they have available. Like, yeah, I know, Tiger tanks are really good. They are really good, but they're not always the right choice. Okay, so the second T-34 now on the queue. The manpower was there to be spent, so it's going to come through here. And I think I don't know. I mean, so the plan of snowballing T-34s is fine, and your Axis opponent is just about on the back foot. We are like just on the cusp of like when it's acceptable to build T-34s and chain build them. But you've seen the fragmentation bombing run, I assume. I assume he saw that. So you have to feel like your Axis opponent, pardon me, is probably on a Tiger plan here. And is a second T-34 really adequate? Well, if you are being super smart, the second T-34 is the right choice if you follow it up immediately with an Su-85, because then that Su-85 should come out onto the field just as the Tiger does. So yeah, there is a bubble of time, a window where he can definitely get the second T-34 and then grab an Su-85, like if he does it immediately. And then I think we're fine then. I just think we're fine. But if he thinks that he can beat a Tiger with Su-76 and 2 T-34s, I'm not convinced that that's a sound plan. He's going to at least need more Ziska. A third pack gun? Yeah, sure, I guess that makes sense.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
I mean, this is a very, very compacted Axis player now under a triple cap, bleeding hard. Pack guns managed to find this T-34. That's going to force it back, finally finding some veterancy onto these beleaguered pack guns. Is this a Dansak on the doorstep of the base? Yikes. Dansak T-34 going to close the western base entrance for the Axis player. That's pretty tough times. What is this? Fragmentation grenade, fragmentation bombing run going to come in here. Conscripts immediately getting the hell out of there, and they will dodge that. So that's something there for El Dorado. Tiger tank is going to be with us momentarily. We've nearly got, he's like 10 fuel away, nearly has the manpower as well, so that's fine. I would love to see another squad of engineers here for El Dorado. You've got 2 medium tanks and an Su-76. You're probably going to be making another fuel choice in the near future. Look how much fuel El Dorado is stacking. So I guess buy the next fuel choice, then save for a second squad of engineers. But this is where, like, when you watch Brosris, for example, he always has 2 squads of repair infantry, whatever they are for the faction, up in the early stages of the mid game, and it just makes everything flow so much smoother. It just makes the game run a lot better. 3 pack guns is doing a lot of damage to this T-34, which just about squeaks away intact. Su-85 is being added on at the correct timing here, so El Dorado, cognizant of the fact that he's going to have to put together a Tiger kill at some point as this game moves on. Going to be grabbing the Su-85, and I think that's a fantastic late-game insurance policy that really shores up this roster very nicely. I hope after that he mixes in Grenadiers. He's going to cancel it and go for a Katusha. I take it all back. He's a fool. He has no judgment whatsoever. He's misread the situation entirely, lol. No, I'm just kidding. That's a bit harsh, but it's just funny that he like cancels it right when I'm talking about how good of a decision it is. Mate, so now your opponent has Tiger Tank, and you've got a Katusha. I mean, is this really where you want to be? Alright, now he sees the Tiger. T-34 backs away. Oh, mate, you know it's a Tiger. What are we doing here? You're not going to beat a Tiger with 2 T-34s and an Su-76. I mean, unless something goes very wrong for the Axis player. I don't know, I'm a bit concerned now. Why is he not cancelling the Katusha? Does he think that he wants to finish the Katusha? I mean, he's got so much fuel. He could finish the Katusha and then get a... No, but he won't have the unit cap for an Su-85 after that, so... I don't know. Help me understand. Why is El Dorado building this Katusha even when he knows it's a Tiger tank? This is a game which a Tiger tank can definitely bring back. This is a Tiger tank that's protected by 3 pack guns. Su-76, T-34 desperately doing what they can against this Tiger tank, but I mean... This is going to be the story of the game. Why did he not go for the Su-85? I'm so confused. He can actually fit it onto the roster. He does have the supply. Katusha going to make itself felt here. That is a guess barrage of the most guessingest kind. And he's not going to find anything. You know what, I guess it doesn't matter because he's just going to win this game. He doesn't have to put together a kill on the Tiger. I mean, slightly shonky reasoning here, I think, from a Soviet player. In the end, it's not going to matter because he's just winning so hard, but like... T-34 comes in, gets a ram. That is an IL-2, so... You know what, I did totally forget about that. Of course he can use the IL-2 rocket barrage. Man, yeah. I was looking at the IL-2 rocket barrage and thinking to myself, Magpie, you mustn't forget that this is an option later on in the cast, because I always do, and it basically always takes me by surprise, which is kind of a mixed blessing, because it also makes it really awesome when an IL-2 screams over and gets some work done. But, yeah, okay, making me look like a bit of a fool here. Of course, if you have 3 T-34s, you can immobilize the Tiger with a ram, and then get the KO blow with an IL-2 barrage. And Eldorado there seemingly masterfully putting that circumstance together, utilising a bit of damage he was able to tack on with the Su-76, which, fair to say, this game looked okay. Didn't look like dominating, didn't look devastating, but it was definitely okay. So, yeah, just an interesting game there between those two players. Going to hop in and cast another one there. I haven't really felt like I've properly scratched my Company of Heroes 2 itch today, so going to roll into another game here. You know, it's not been a long enough Company of Heroes 2 session when my tea is still perfectly hot and drinkable. So, let us return to the lobby. Alright, who we got? Jove! Yep, sure, we'll take it. I'm game. Sign me up. Jove, playing on a map that I don't recognise. Westwall. Do I remember this map? I feel like I don't remember this map. So that's exciting. Community map by Lord Rommel. Alright, well, I'm ready. I'm ready to be excited. Let's see now. So we've got Jove playing as USF. Looks like he's rocking... Well, let's do some player intros and get this map going. Okay, so... Spawning in the west, playing on Westwall as the United States Forces. It is Jove. And spawning in the east, playing as the Wehrmacht pieces. It's going to be somewhat slightly dazed. Somewhat slightly dazed here, not at all displaying any signs of actually being somewhat slightly dazed, because he's immediately going to start doing things such as building an infantry company and choosing the Struppen Doctrine. So, yep, we're going to have a Struppen Doctrine here. Oh, wow, and it's going to be immediately against the Mechanized Company Doctrine. So, hey, looks like Jove has been watching Von Ivan. He's going for... Well, hang on, this isn't Von Ivan yet. We need to see the second truck before we know it's an Ivan build. But, yeah, we're going to see about that. But, yeah, somewhat slightly dazed here, guilty of kind of false advertising. This definitely a player who is awake, demonstrating significant amounts of APM and skill at this game. I would call him somewhat slightly paying attention and playing this game quite well. But that's quite a long username. So, anyway... Let's see. So, yeah, WC-51 going to be moving out onto the field. There it is, the much-feared American truck capable of crushing Axis hopes and dreams, as we've seen Von Ivan navigate this unit to harsh early-game victories. 2 squads of Struppen going to be the choice here off the bat for somewhat slightly dazed. Going to see how he's going to react to the choice of the WC-51. Of course, he must have known that this was an option. He did see that this commander was on the roster, and as these forces move out and start capturing points, we're going to have some shots fired in earnest here momentarily. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing a game from Jove. I suppose there's, like, obviously casting the toppest of top players is really exciting for a number of reasons. One is that you get to see amazingly skillful decision making and micro and multitasking and just watch the game be played at a super high level, which is always exhilarating. But another reason is that when good players are ahead, they waste no time, they make very few mistakes, they just close games out in a way that's very brutal and concise. And that too is refreshing. rather than these sort of games between players who are very, very, very good but don't quite have the judgment, skill, and decision making to kind of close games out in rapid order. I should say judgment, skill. I mean, judgment and decision making, basically the same thing. What I meant to say was judgment, skill, and hours of game experience. Really, that's the deciding factor. So anyway, so we got. This is not the 2 WC51 build. This is not the double WC51 build. This is. We've got riflemen coming out here. Riflemen who are getting mullered by grenadiers and struppens here. Lovely stuff. The struppens there doing what they do best, absorbing all the damage, taking all the shots, even sneaking away here to continue doing things out on the map. They may fall back momentarily. Now he's going to use them to cap this point. Lovely stuff. And this is not a pure struppen build, so we've got double grenadier, double struppen here. So somewhat slightly dazed. Looks to diversify his roster here. Wants to rely on the advantages, not just of Ostruppen. Looks like Rifleman here going to be grabbing a crucial cut-off point here. It's not actually going to cut anything off right now, but it's sure an annoying point to be grabbing here. So Jove just going to be annoying with these Riflemen. 50 cal going to finish up on this WC51, which is going to enable it to start cutting into these Grenadiers. Somewhat slightly dazed now, stacking some resources, wondering what he's going to take next. What is this thing? Supply drop. Well, that's a cool ability. That's changed a lot. That did not used to do that. Man, I'm still learning so much about this game. Looks like Jove here going to be going for Lieutenant Tech. The Lieutenant makes himself present. Makes his presence felt here immediately. Somewhat slightly dazed if he was paying attention. Will be cognizant of the fact that it's Lieutenant Tech. I imagine he'll be making preparations for a utility car and the possibility of a Stuart here. Panzer Grenadier is going to be the next choice for dazed.
Panzer Grenadiers standing by.
And as we see these fights getting taken, look how good Dazed is at like sneaking away these low health units. Uh-oh, okay, now this is risky now. He should pay attention, and he does, immediately falling out back. I love the way he doesn't fall back his units if he knows that there's a point nearby that they can go and capture. That's really smart. This Grenadier squad is going to be able to exfiltrate safely. Now these Grenadiers also need to fall back. We've got a fight being taken in west, which I'm going to pan the camera to now. Looks like the WC-51 and some riflemen going to be chewing into these Struppen. So with the 2 Grenadier squads and the Struppen falling back, that actually leaves very few frontline squads of infantry alive here for Dazed, who is super cut off as well. Look at Jove, what a monster. So he's cutting off 1 fuel, 1, 2... He's cutting off 2 fuel points and 2 regular points with this maneuver, is Jove. Lovely stuff. Panzer Grenadiers come forward. They trade out against the Lieutenant, and I mean, they're going to have to fall back too now. So there's just no frontline presence. All of the Axis units essentially on the doorstep or in the Axis base, reinforcing, rearming, getting ready. Meanwhile, Jove has Riflemen being active. He has the Cavalry Riflemen coming out now with their close-range firepower. His roster is relatively diverse for this early stage in the game. He has the WC-51 with 50 cal ready to provide support and provide a tricky, elusive, slippery, difficult to damage target here. The Lieutenant as well, bringing a little bit more close-range punch to this army. Mixing in a 3/4 ton ambulance at this juncture makes a lot of sense because you've got a lot of wounded squads coming back now, so that unit timed out to precision there by Jove. And, you know, I point all these things out because, I mean, it's Jove, isn't it? You know, one of the, if not the best player in the game, and it's always just nice to see the little things. And at the top tiers of any game, it's the little things that make the big differences, because everybody's got the big things down. So what turns games and what decides battles, is always the small things when you get to the top levels of the game. Actually, you know what, I say that. It's usually the small things. Sometimes you still get a game between 2 top-level tiers where one of them just makes a mistake, or one of them misreads a certain situation, and the game just ends very quickly, because when you're playing at the top end, it doesn't take much. It doesn't, you know, if you make a mistake or misread a situation, because your opponent is so very good at the game, often that can just be enough to close it out. These Ostruppen here trading out against heavy cav, they will fall back there. Dazed, he leaves his fallback timings to the very last second, but I have not seen him make an unsafe fallback yet. So I cannot criticize him for this. He is getting the maximum value out of these squads before falling the back. 220 scout car going to be rolling onto the field here. Nice stuff there. Oh my god. He was just able to connect this point for a second, and then Jove comes in. Rifleman ahoy. Just going to immediately cut this Axis player off. Look at this resource differential. Pardon me. Plus 29 and 47 fuel and munitions for Jove, plus 13 and 21 for Somewhat Slightly Dazed, who has had the double fuel for longer than Jove. It's just been cut off. And he's getting off to a horrible start in this game. Not in terms of fights being taken, just in terms of where the units are taking these fights and what Jove is able to commit to capturing on the field. And okay, finally, Panzer Grenadier is going to try to reconnect this point. But I mean, you know, looking at this field, imagine how different this would be if he had a Kubelwagen, you know? Like, Dazed would be able to be so much more mobile, take these points in so much faster of an order, be able to tax these American infantry squads up until now so much more efficiently, as well as being able to answer the WC-51 more directly. What the? 222 just going to get traded out here. That's pretty bad. So, I mean, that's a lieutenant with a Zook, that's a WC-51 with a 50 cal, and you know what? Actually, Somewhat Slightly Dazed has seen enough. He is like, nope, this is a game where I have spent 8 minutes being cut off and completely out-resourced by an American player who is incredibly good at the game. I don't think that I want to keep playing this one. I'm going to GG out. Somewhat Slightly Dazed there, just going to evacuate himself from this game. And yeah, I mean, there's not a lot there's nothing raw I can really say about that one, you know. Not every game that you watch is close. We found that out yesterday, we're finding it out today as well, and that's okay. Even so, that was an interesting highlight in how to open early game on that map as American forces, so yeah, that's pretty interesting. So now let's have a looky here. We've got Weckler there playing as British forces against Who Cares. That's probably going to be a good one. I might jump into that one. Yeah, let's watch that one. We've not seen any UKF. I also don't recognise this map, Rechnaya Petropava. Okay, some Russian stuff there. Who Cares going to be rocking with Special Operations Doctrine, Panzer Elite Doctrine, and Feuersturm Doctrine, actually. And 3M's Weckler going to be rocking with Royal Engineer Doctrine, Commando Regiment Doctrine, and... Sorry, no, that's Mobile Assault. Got that one wrong. And who's this? Lend-Lease Assault. Oh, so this is the new UKF one that I haven't really seen. Gets a mortar team, which is something that UKF have been bloody gasping for. I'm bloody gasping for it, geezer. Sorry, when dealing with the UKF, I have to put on as many stupid British accents as possible sometimes. Well, it feels that way. Anyway, let's do some player introductions. Spawning in like the southwest, playing as the Overcommand West Pieces. Who Cares? And spawning in the north, playing, or the northeast, playing as the United Kingdom forces. It will be 3M's Weckler. So, yep, this right now, a very strong faction, which is really, really cool, but just missing some core pieces. I think that, honestly, the lack of an indirect fire infantry squad is surprisingly punishing for UKF. Like, every other faction, even OKW, now have access to the light gun, which pretty much has the same functionality as a mortar squad and can put down smoke. And UKF just don't get it. They get a mortar pit, but whenever you build a mortar pit, it feels so bad as the UKF. Unless you've managed to get a horribly advantaged position and you're building the mortar pit, like, on the doorstep of your opponent's base. It's just not a cool thing to have to build. It feels like it's boring to use. It's relatively boring to play with. This is just all my opinion, of course, but like I'm not a fan of the mortar pit. And yeah, I think UKF get like Tommies are really good. Tommies are just fine, but they struggle early on against Volksgrenadiers. They struggle early on against Struppen. They struggle early on against snipers. They struggle early on against scout cars. And Axis players have a lot of those things. So I don't know, UKF right now in the meta, just in an odd place. I'm not saying that they cannot be played. I'm not saying that they are bad at the top end of the game. That's definitely not true. We do see top tier players making runs with this faction in important games. But I mean, it is telling that in the World Championship tournament, I mean, there's just been very little, if any, UKF play. I mean, there must have been some, but yeah. UKF, probably the allied faction in the most need of a little bit of help, to be honest. And I'm sure that the community balance team will be paying attention to that and making some changes as we move forward. For now, though, we've got the Bren carrier, the universal carrier, armored jeep, armored carrier thingy, going to be rumbling onto the field here momentarily to provide some mobile fire support. This, of course, will be rather effective against pretty much all of the OKW choices early on here. Looks like we've got no Kubel opener here. It's going to be triple Volks for Who Cares. He's going to go straight ahead and pick the Elite Armored Doctrine, so this is going to give him access to the 221 Command Scout car in the early phases of this game. And I love this choice, man. I love how all these commanders have been like fleshed out and made super interesting and useful in all stages of the game. And now, yeah, Panzer Elite Doctrine. We can call in the 221 Scout car. Now, how much does this thing cost? Sorry, I just want to check. 15. It costs 15 fuel. 220 manpower. Okay, so yeah, that seems totes reasonable for what you get. Kettenwerfer here, going to be coming down at an early timing. So who cares? Going to be caring, actually, to some extent, about this brain carrier. Responding, adapting his composition, mixing in an early Kettenwerfer. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Vickers K upgrade going to be finishing up on this universal carrier, so going to be kicking out a bit more damage, making itself a slightly more valuable target for the Kettenwerfer as well. So any rockets finding this universal carrier going to be pretty effective. This Tommy squad just getting taxed down. Too many Volksgrenadiers hosing down those Tommies. Despite the rate of fire upgrade that they get, 4 guns not going to be able to match the 10 that we're hooning into them. And they're going to be forced back. Let's crack the tack here to get a feel for how the map control is going in the early stages of the game. Looks like a pretty even split, to be honest. The Allied player holding on to 2 of the VPs, which is notable, of course. Was that a squad wipe? Oh no, sorry, it was just some Tommies going into a building. I just like saw a squad emblem disappear and got momentarily worried there. Let's quickly check the text. So yep, here we go. So, platoon command post has finished. AEC research also has finished, and we've got. Oh, sorry, AEC research is just is on its way now, and we'll have an AEC on the queue here momentarily. So yeah, looks like 3 Im's Weckler. Going to be going for a very mobile UKF style, and I really like this. I think if you're going to choose UKF, then you need to lean on their more atypical qualities. I think if you're just going to lean on Tommies and relatively sort of traditional Company of Heroes to infantry-based openings, then play as Soviets or play as USF. I think if you're going to play as UK, then you want to leverage the idiosyncratic elements of that faction that bring something different to the table. Otherwise, why are you playing as them? So I really like this opener here from Weckler. He's mixing in some medkits now. He's going to be grabbing the AEC, I'm sure, when he has the fuel. Well, how much are they now? 60. You know what? What did he just spend fuel on? Did he just buy, like, weapon racks? He's buying bolster infantry squads before getting the AEC, but after AEC research. Colour me confused. I'm not sure I fully understand the reasoning for this. This seems like a lot of manpower to be spending on upgrades. Because look, he's basically a squad or 2 behind his Axis opponent, because he's spent like about 250 manpower on upgrades, which right now are having no material impact on the way the battle is flowing. Like, these upgrades have been bought, but their impact is like going to be felt in the minutes to come rather than right now. So he is basically allowing his Axis player to gain dominion or gain dominance over the battlefront. I just don't know that you want to let the Axis player be able to dictate things this early. Losing the AEC, losing the Universal Carrier, I should say, sorry, to a cunningly positioned Kettenwerfer there. The boys from Wales here, the sappers are in here, Sten guns blazing, but it ain't going to be enough. Volks in a building, going to be more than enough to push those boys away. And now, I mean, we just see this so many times from UKF. Like, this game has not gone that badly, but he's been taxed so hard on buying upgrades and teching, to be honest, with questionable logic. I'm not quite sure I like going for the AEC research and then not immediately building the AEC, because now that research looks a bit bad. But now we just have like 3 Tommy squads and a Royal Engineer squad against a proper Axis early game roster, and like, how can you ever take a fight against this? I don't know. Like, now that you've lost that Bren carrier, things look pretty bad. Okay, so anyway, 3 of Weckler here, going to choose the very interesting and new Lend-Lease commander. So, okay, that means that he does have the assault infantry section upgrade. Tommy guns able to come down on these squads. So how much does this cost? 60 munitions, yikes. So they get Tommy submachine guns and white phosphorus grenades. Well, that's very interesting. Okay, that's a grenade. Catches a lot of UK forces there. He also has access, of course, to the M5 half-track, which will enable him to reinforce at the front, as long as he doesn't fall foul of the Kettenwerfer, which it's already lined up onto this half-track. Yikes, got to be careful. The Royal Engineer's being forced back, so repairs are not going to be immediately forthcoming onto that half-track. God, got to be careful here. How much is the half-track? 30 fuel, yeah. Okay. Alright, so I like the plan here, okay. I think I like the plan from Weckler. The plan was get 5-man Tommy upgrades, get the assault package, and go for like an infantry-based hooning like composition. And that's what we... Wow, white phosphorus coming down. Nice. And that's what we see here. Like, it is being effective. he is able to push some of these squads around, but what was the AEC research about? Like, why did he buy that? Is there like an early game threat that can be possessed by OKW that necessitates having an AEC on standby ready to come in? I don't see that there is. Was that a misclick? Very unlikely. Okay, so I don't really fully understand the AEC research being done. That seems weird. If you're going to go for the AEC research, you normally buy an AEC, right? Otherwise it's just money lost. I'm so confused. But yeah, we've got early 5-man squad upgrade, which also applies, of course, to these Royal Engineers. They are putting down some good damage. Good damage. So that is a Volksgrenadier squad that's going to escape by the... Whoa, that's at squad wipe levels now. The M5 half-track. Okay, he's just going to get that Volksgrenadier out of there. He would have been unlucky to lose that squad, but the possibility was there for a wipe for sure. Meanwhile, in south, these Storm Pioneers are going to be denying the fuel from the UKF player, and we've got a game that's warming up here. This is going to be really interesting. Kettenwerfer here in a lovely position. M5 half-track just a whisker too far forward, but the Kettenwerfer is spotted and flushed, immediately forced to fall back. Volksgrenadiers are here present and correct, but this is a lot of Tommies, and they have a reinforcing half-track. And yeah, I've said it before on the channel, so I'm sure most of you probably know, but I love a mobile, and I love a mobile or forward-based reinforcing option, and I love a strategy based around a mobile reinforcing half-track or a forward fallback point / forward reinforce point. I just like being able to pressure my opponent, establish a forward foothold on the map, and be very aggressive in the early and mid game. That's like how I like to play Company of Heroes 2, given the option. It's not how I try and play every game, but it's just, I feel very at home with that playstyle, let's put it that way. So, liking what I'm seeing here from Weckler, although I don't fully understand some of the choices he's made, I appreciate that he's trying to play a different style here, and I appreciate that he's trying to explore options provided by the UKF forces, because for all their shortcomings, and I think UKF probably more than any other faction, they do have a lot of shortcomings. They are a very, very idiosyncratic faction. They do things very differently. They do present options that you just don't find in the other factions, and that makes them very interesting to watch. It makes them very interesting to play. I also quite like the fact that, among the allied factions, they most closely resemble playing as the Axis factions to me. Like, their units and the way they tech up and things feels quite a lot like playing as Wehrmacht to me. And I like that. I just think it's nice to have that playstyle available on the allied side of things as well. So the Kettenwerfer in a nice position here, finding some hits onto this M5 half-track just as the quad mount finishes. So this is going to be kicking out some damage now. Is this Kettenwerfer going to be able to creep in? Oh, it's creeping in for additional shots. Oh no, he's going to lose it. Oh, okay, he needs to get this out of here. That Kettenwerfer is going to creep forward for another shot here. This AA half-track stricken, engine broken. The boys from Wales desperately trying to find some repairs on this thing, but they ain't gonna. And the situation becoming increasingly dire for Weckler, who, to be fair actually, you know what, one thing I didn't really realise, he is actually ahead by 100 tickets. So he does have time on his side. He forces back most of the Axis units. There's a bubble of time here where the UK forces can move out, reconnect points, grab a fuel point. That's the most crucial thing. He just hasn't had the best fuel income. And look, we're talking, the OKW opponent here has Schwerpanzer HQ with Panzer authorization complete. So we're going to see Panzer IV momentarily, I would imagine. Panzer IV looks like a pretty good choice against this roster. And this is a Panzer Elite doctrine as well, so you do tend to want to have access to a tank earlier rather than later. Oh, nice! He gets some Volksgrenadiers on the cutoff here. Tommy's going to be interfering with this guy trying to fall back. This is a lot of Tommy guns blazing away. And he gets the kill. Brutal stuff there. And now these Tommies starting to flex a little bit. Shoving back Volksgrenadiers on the map. Securing squad wipes. The half-track is repaired. The supply lines are becoming connected again. Still not able to grab a fuel point, but at least stuff is happening now for the UKF player. And I feel like once you get through the early stages of the game, if the game is at parity or better, then UKF start really feeling a lot better. You start feeling more confident. Most of the UKF advantages are like later, or just not really in the early game. Like, I feel like UKF are pretty vulnerable until you get your 5-man squad upgrade and until you get some tech online and stuff like that. You do just get shoved about. Like, Volksgrenadiers are a menace early on. Like, if you're playing with Tommies, and like German snipers are a menace early on until you get the appropriate counters and so on. So I feel like we're just about leaving the phase of the game where the UKF forces are not so great. Kettenwerfer here finding great hits on this M5 half-track. Is it going to get another shot? It is not. Weckler just about on top of it, moving that half-track away. Nicely timed there. Looks like UKF forces as well, moving through the north of the map unopposed, taking ground as they go. Obersoldaten have just arrived. MG34 has finished on them, so that's going to be a very powerful and potent counter to all of this pretty amazing UKF infantry. These Tommy guns, Tommy gun Tommies, looking spicy. I like having 2 squads of them. I don't think more is warranted, and I think as the game goes on, the value of these squads is going to decrease as the OKW player is able to mix in machine gun teams and indeed a second squad of Obersoldaten. So yeah, I think 2 squads of Assault Tommies feels just about right. It gives you... Wow, he gets a squad wipe on some Volks. Who cares? Not caring about that squad. Wow, that was just inattention there. That Volksgrenadier just staying too long. No fallback coming down. And actually losing 2 squads of Volksgrenadiers over this last phase of play puts Who Cares in a really bad position. Now his army just looks small. Now he's in danger of getting shoved around. Now, I mean, it is rare that the UKF forces can ever just outnumber and outmuscle their opponent. You normally have to do things a little bit differently. But we're in a position now where, like, this is a pretty large roster of UKF units and a pretty small and fragile roster of Axis units, you know? Storm Pioneers, Obersoldaten are expensive, high-value, low-model count units where the damage that is put onto them feeds a lot of veterancy and is relatively expensive to replace. So you don't want those units taking fire. That leaves 2 squads of Volks only. What is this Volksgrenadier doing? He has not been reinforced. Who Cares? Beginning to come apart a little bit here. That is not typical. You don't want to be doing that. That feels bad. Let's crack the tack. Basically, it looks like stuff is going pretty well for the UKF player right now. As soon as he can connect this bloody fuel point, and, you know, then things will be going really well. Let's just quickly check the tech here. No company command post just yet. So,
enemies trying to take a point from us.
And we've got a Yagdi! I don't even know. As you all know, I normally love a I normally love a tank hunter, me. But this tank hunter... Really? I mean, your UKF opponent has shown you a half-track and has also never possessed a fuel point for, like, any meaningful amount of time in this game. So, like... I think you're quite safe to go for a Panzer IV and then go for a Jagdpanzer. There's going to be no good targets for this Jagdpanzer for some time. Like, your UKF opponent just hasn't really had the fuel. Like, if he'd have spent all this fuel, he could just about have a Cromwell coming out, like, soonish. And, like, a Panzer IV is fine against a Cromwell for a while, and the Panzer IV gives you some much-needed anti-infantry firepower to deal with all this horrendous amounts of stuff. Whoa, Volksgrenadiers getting so low. What are these Volksgrenadiers doing? Okay, Who Cares? Okay, that's game. You can't be... What? Okay, good stun grenades, but that is basically game. Okay, Jagdpanzer just going to come on out here. He's probably going to get this M5. That's fine. Yep, okay. Kettenwerfer are going to pick that one up. But you can't lose all your core infantry. Who cares? Just not paying any attention to those Volks. They just got mowed the hell down by Tommy gun toting Tommies. He's going to lose this Yagdi as well. Oh my goodness, what a weird game. I mean, yes, we've got a quarter-pounder anti-tank gun on the field here, and that's... Okay, he's not going to lose the Jagdpanzer. We've got a stricken Jagdpanzer taking a dive for safety up into the north of the map, where there's no support whatsoever. He's just going to be alive here. That's better than nothing. Actually, he's going to use vehicle crew repairs, so he fixes the engine. That's actually pretty important. Or was that the gun? Whatever. He fixes the damage that was on it. But, I mean, this is just a weird game now. I don't know what I'm looking at. Who cares? Just making some super weird decisions in this game, and Weckler is just too good of a player to like let an advantage like this slide. If you're going to offer Weckler any edge in the game, he will grab that and not let go. And like, Who Cares has offered him several edges in this game, mostly by just throwing away Volksgrenadier squads. So Somehow the Jagdpanzer gets discovered by Tommies, but then sneaks away. The anti-tank gun that was tasked with destroying it gets mowed down by Obersoldaten, and they are very potent. You know, these units do a lot of damage to infantry. Tommy's going to have to respect them as well, falling back here. And he can grab this anti-tank gun, which I think he probably does want to do, or at least salvage it. But if he's... Of course, he has no Volksgrenadiers to garrison it with, or to grab it with, so that's tough. Here come a load of Tommies just going to sledgehammer through this area of the map. Ooh, could be a squad wipe on this Tommy squad, though. Depends how the focus fire comes down. It's not coming down onto the retreating squad, though. Some focus fire did come down, but it was just too little too late, so the Tommies are going to get out of there. And now, oh no, not the Obersoldat, and they're getting slowed down by white phosphorus on the retreat here. Grievous amounts of damage being inflicted. Tommy gun toting Tommies. No joke. But lucky for who cares, he's actually going to escape with those units intact. But I mean, he's under a triple cap. He's bleeding so super hard. He's going to grab a Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper. Nothing about this game makes sense. He's just... I mean, he just threw away all his Volksgrenadiers. So, because this is such a just a broken game, I'm just going to speed up here because I think who cares, he's just dead, right? I mean, how do you ever take this game back? So we're going to speed up. Schwerwehrmacht Schlepper going to come out onto the field. I don't know what the hell this is about. It's going to deploy into a Schwerpanzer HQ down here. Did he lose his Schwerpanzer HQ? Oh, I totally missed that. He lost his Schwerpanzer HQ. I'm so good at casting. Alright, so Tommy's going to chase these... oh no, if he discovers this, it's just over. He sees it. He sees it. That's pretty terrible. Okay, it does finish, which is pretty amazing. Obersoldaten are here to defend it. What the hell are those? Are they Mills bombs? Sorry, not Mills bomb, gammon bombs. Oh, wicked, man. He's got gammon bombs on this here infantry. What is that? Okay, that's smoking, right? Fair enough. Man, that's so funny. I've never seen gammon bombs used like that before. Double gammon bomb. Okay, he just needs to wait for the cooldown on the gammon bomb. He's going to get the kill on this building. Lovely. Grenade, ho! Yeah, that's game. Oh, no, no, I thought someone was GGing. Oh, the Obersoldaten! No! That might be the best gammon bomb I've ever seen. Yeah, that's game. Nice. All right, well, I guess we're going to hop into another one. What a weird game! What? Just... there are so many things about that game I don't understand. Like, what was the AEC research about? Why wouldn't you save your Volksgrenadiers? And why are there Volksgrenadiers moving out onto the map without being reinforced? Why are you building a Jagdpanzer against a UKF opponent who hasn't had a connected fuel point for, like, ages? I don't know. I just... don't know, man. I don't know. Creative name, Bapu, Isildur, he's pretty decent. Porn for cats equals PFC. Interesting. Stalin's sexual shock troops. I guess we're going to jump into this one. 101st Airborne is pretty respectable. So, alright. This is our final hope today for catching a game which makes any kind of good sense. Man, we're just not getting very lucky catching any good games lately, are we? I mean, well, like, out of a sample of yesterday and today. Man, that was such a weird game. I just don't understand anything that I just saw in that game between Wackler and who cares. Well, not every game you cast makes sense, as apparently a lesson I'm learning today. Okay, so spawning in the east, playing as the Wehrmacht pieces. It's going to be the 101st Airborne. Oops. And spawning in the west, playing as the Soviet pieces. It's going to be Porn for Cats, or PFC. So I don't think this is actually PFC, but it could be. We'll see. So let's take a look at here. We've got Shock Tactics, I want to say. Lightning War Doctrine, damn it. Mechanized Assault Doctrine, and my favourite guy, Spearhead. And on the roster for PFC, we've got Guard Motor Coordination Tactics. We've got the IS-2 guy. What is his name? Armored Assault Tactics. That one never stays in my head. And... don't recognise this guy. Guard Rifle Combined Arms Tactics. There we go. The Soviet commanders, actually, some of them do look just really generic and sort of faceless in a way. Not faceless, just... I just don't really remember the way who they are. Just on these portraits, they all look kind of samey. Okay, so... All right, let's hope for a good game here. Looks like we've got a so far techless Soviet player and a infantry company. Well, of course we've got infantry company, triple grenadier. So far so standard out of these two players. This is fine. Double engineer opening for PFC.
The enemy is taking our territory.
Both players capping up, and we're going to see some shots exchanged here momentarily. We have a fresh grenadier squad. A sector has been cut off. Building Soviet economy. Alright, so engineers forced back here. Grenadiers more than a match for them. Fourth squad of Grenadiers appearing on the roster here. No MG yet for 101st Airborne. Ammo!
Squad is ready.
This is like a pretty powerful grenadier blob that's just overrunning the hell through these conscripts. Yikes! My god, they're butchering them. Nice Molotov. Whoa, we've actually got Molotovs. It's a rare day that we see a Molotov opening. Now the Grenadiers find themselves surrounded. More and more Soviet rifles pouring in here, and this is going to be a difficult battle. They are being worn down, but still 6 Grenadiers providing some hefty poke, especially at this range. Going to start mullering into these conscripts.
Supply sector under attack.
Let's crack the tack here, and we can see approximately a 50-50 split on the battle line here. Nothing super noteworthy occurring at this stage. 5 squads of five squads of Grenadiers is actually somewhat noteworthy. Does this mean we might see a Lightning War Doctrine pick here for the Jaeger Light Infantry upgrades? I could see that happening. This is atypical. 5 squads of Grenadiers is unusual. So 101st Airborne is up to something here, composition-wise. Very interesting stuff. Squad of conscripts does get forced back. These Grenadiers now surrounded by a lot of Soviet rifles. Probably going to be forced out of here momentarily. This is a lot of Grenadiers. Gives you some real muscle. Whoa, come on boys, we want to be doing something out here. Yeah. Grenadier blob tactics here. No sign of Battle Phase 1 yet. Flamethrower upgrade coming up on these engineers. Still no tech from the Soviet player. We're just seeing some real weird games this morning, aren't we? So the Axis player essentially getting the better end of this early game so far. Just had slightly better field control, has had slightly better possession of the victory points. And that is represented by the 60 ticket lead that we see him in possession of right now. And it is going to be a Lightning War Doctrine pick. So I imagine we're going to start seeing G43s popping up on these Grenadiers. And if he gets 5 squads of Grenadiers with G43s, that's quite scary. Do they cost 60? 45 the cost for the G43 upgrade package. So I imagine we're going to see some of those start appearing shortly. Molotov's coming down. Actually looks like 101st a little slow to respond on that one. So that Molotov going to force a squad back. But in these scrappy unit-to-unit fights, I mean, I just think Grenadiers are going to start winning, even more so. Okay, here we go. G43s are appearing now. So it looks like PFC feels compelled to choose this commander, Guard Rifle Combined Arms Tactics. So he's going to have access to guards, which we see entering the field just now. And he's going to have the ML, what is it, ML20 gun howitzer. Is that the KV-1? Yeah, he also has the option for the KV-1. Still no tech. So this is a pretty prolonged period of conscript-based play, which he's now supplementing with guards. So, I mean, he hasn't built a tech building, but he does have access to tech now. He's also got the PPSH upgrade package, actually, so 2 pretty idiosyncratic strats here from these 2 players. I wonder if we're going to start seeing conscript upgrade packages coming down. None yet. So we've got 1 set of G43s finished, another one on the way. So I imagine we're just going to see all the munitions for our Axis player here get funneled into G43s. And G43s are menacing. They do a ton of damage. They basically do their damage at any range. Like, as long as they're shooting, they're basically being effective. Obviously, they do slightly more damage at closer ranges, of course. Well, yeah, quite a lot. But anyway, but the scary thing about the G43s is they are quite effective being fired on the move. It's not like the LMG42 where you have to find firing positions and move from position to position and, like, you know, operate that way. The G43s are just fine. Look, there we go. They just thunder away on the move. And look how much damage they do. It's devastating. Oh my goodness me. These guards are just feeding veterans, so yet immediately have to fall back. That is a wise decision. And even then, they're getting harried on the fallback terribly by these Grenadiers. So this is going to be 5 Grenadiers. I mean, you need a T-70, right? So, okay, support weapon Campanile comes down. I feel like if he was teching accurately, he could have gotten a T-70 a long time ago. And that forces your Axis opponent to, like, do something different. Like, I don't know. So battle phase 1, look how late this is. If this was a T-70 build, this would have been quite nasty. So I feel like PFC, we're just going to call him PFC, even if this is not the real PFC, because I'm not going to keep saying pawn for cats. It's too long and it sounds weird. Yeah, this is a game where I think PFC could have identified the potential to get a T-70, and that would have been quite punishing for this Axis composition. Oh my god, these G43s just do a lot of damage. They're so scary. Have we got more sets of G43s on the way yet? Not yet. But he has the money. Molotov comes down here, going to force back 1 squad of Grenadiers. The G43 boys sticking together. That is a Bundaroo grenade. Bong. I mean, it's not a Bundaroo grenade, it's a fragmentation grenade. RGD-33. Okay, trading for damage with these Grenadiers is a bit ambitious. I think it should fall back. There we go. Fall back comes down. You know, actually, now that I think about it, I haven't seen rifle grenades used for ages either. Have they been nerfed? I mean, I do remember they were very strong before. One of the very few grenades that doesn't show a fuse timer and where it's going to go off. So, like, unless your opponent sees the start of that rifle grenade animation, I mean, by the time you hear the ding of it firing, it's usually too late. So, yeah, maybe rifle grenades have been nerfed a bit. Don't know. Frag grenade going to come down here, forces a fallback out of some Grenadiers. It looks like they fell back into some mines or something, so that's pretty painful. But they do get out just fine. Additional G43 is going to be finishing momentarily on the 3rd squad. Pack gun coming up now, but this pack gun relatively late. If this had been a T-70 opening, I mean, the Tank of the Battalion Commander is finishing now so late. Look how much fuel PFC is stacking. Like, he could have had T-70 on the field a long time ago. I know that he's been doing other things with his tech choices and has been playing a different style, But I'm just saying, if he'd have played a more conventional style and gotten the T-70 on the field, I just feel like this Axis composition would have been forced back to base in a pretty major way. So possibly missing an opportunity here as our Soviet player. But anyway, there's going to be a pack gun on the field here. Rifle grenade does come down there. But it looks like PFC on top of it with his awareness. So is there going to be a T-70? It is going to be a T-70. Alright, so this T-70 is very late, but it's actually still fine. There's only one pack gun on the field. This map's not small. It's like a medium-sized map, I suppose, like a smallish medium one. But it's not a small map. It's not like this is Crossroads, where with one pack gun you might be able to defend like the majority of your forces. This pack gun can only be in one place at one time. The T-70 can definitely find effectiveness. It can definitely find value by just using its mobility to scroll around the map and find exposed Axis targets that are not defended by a pack gun. So the pack gun even just revealed itself as well, which I think is kind of a mistake. Like, so yeah, 4 squads now have G43s. This is so devastating. Molotov comes down, but I mean, they just don't care, mate. They just don't care. This is a lot of G43 to deal with. And Soviet units being sent packing. These G43s doing the damage. Having said that, he did just lose a Grenadier squad up here, so we're down to 4 Grenadier squads. Wait. No, he just lost his Pioneers, sorry. The Pioneers were lost in this building. Rifle grenade comes down, finds the guards. That's a fallback. Second pack gun finishing. The T-70 was cancelled, which I think I really like. I mean, if you're stacking this much fuel, just grab your Mechanized Regiment HQ and go for like a T-34 or something, you know? Like, so yeah. Cancels the T-70. And this is what I mean, like, it was kind of a mistake showing off this pack gun, because now you've informed your opponent that you have a pack gun, and he's used that information to make a better choice, which I think is cancelling that T-70. I think that makes a lot of sense. Second pack gun is also on the way, so cancelling the T-70 is even better, I think. And this is just such a weird game. 5 squads of Grenadiers with G43s. He could buy the 5th set of G43s. We'll see if he does.
Our opponents are seizing a sector.
I'd love to see like a GR34. I feel like this is quite a good map for the mortar squads generally.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
So these Grenadiers here are going to get flushed out. These Engineers here are going to get flushed out. Which means that we've got like 3 Axis infantry units expanding and capping in north, and 3 Soviet units expanding and capping in south.
The squad of pioneers has arrived.
This roster is pretty damn small for the Soviet player though. This is getting concerning. He needs to spend his resources. Okay, so yeah, Mechanized Armor Campanier is coming up, which I do like. The Axis player has no battle phase 2 even. So the Soviet player does kind of have the better tech, but he has not had a chance to realise that advantage. Stacking, what, 108 fuel, so he's going to have the ability to build a T-34 as soon as that Mechanized Armor Campanier finishes. Is that the right choice? I mean, it's certainly acceptable. You know your opponent has 2 pack guns, though. I almost feel like a Katusha first might be good. I don't know. There's no... I don't know, but the Axis player is definitely flexing now, starting to take the whole of north, going to be grabbing middle VP as well. Soviet forces are grabbing south, but once these Axis forces like fold down to the south, I don't feel like the Soviet player can hold on to this area of the map. I mean, there's just not quite enough Soviet rifles. T-34 is the choice. This is fine, I think. It's not great, but it's fine. Let's just quickly check the tech. So Battle Phase 2 is on its way. This is going to be a Tiger Strat for 101st Airborne. Predictably enough. Scoreline differential represents a pretty good advantage right now for PFC, so he does have time on his side. Given the fact that he's been fighting with a smaller roster against this many amazingly powerful Axis units, I am quite amazed that he's been able to maintain enough victory point control to have developed this this lead in the scoreline. So it's going to give him a moment here. T-34 on the field. And we're going to see where that one gets deployed. Looks like right now, looks like it's routing its way up into the north of the map. So here comes the T-34. Reveals itself. Going to start gunning down some grenadiers. Where are the pack guns right now? So we've got one of them down here, one of them up in mid. So this T-34 for now basically unopposed. I haven't seen any mines on the map. So yeah, this T-34 ought to be able to find damage. Immediately flushes the Axis units out of the north of the map, paving the way for these conscripts and other units to be moving in. Some mines coming down here as well. So PFC looking pretty smart right now. The T-34 providing immediate value, enabling Allied infantry to start grabbing ground in the north of the map. So that's some good stuff. I do like that. We've got a Maxim being added onto the roster here for PFC, and I think we're entering that stage of the game. I mean, it normally starts a lot earlier, but often this game, oftentimes we see this road that runs from north-south down the middle of the map here becomes a sort of no man's land as machine guns and mortar squads and various other Overwatch-type units get set up for both players along the middle line of the map. Neither player really opting to sort of play that way so far, but now that we've got a Maxim on the field, I mean, that's going to play really well. When your opponent is leaning so hard on these amazingly powerful grenadiers with G43s, mixing in a Maxim, I'm kind of surprised we didn't see it earlier, actually. So I like the choice here for PFC, going to be diversifying his roster nicely there. And T-34 gets committed into south, still no pack gun in the hood, so going to be able to just shove aside these grenadiers. So this T-34 looking fine so far, not really finding any damage, but definitely providing value to the Soviet player in other ways. Guards now with DP LMGs finished, 2 stars of veterancy on them. Whoa, T-34 feels brave enough to come up. Whoa, there is a pack gun in your flank here. Are you sure about this? Okay, yeah. That looked like a bit of an overextension. Not punished for it, though, is PFC. Mixing in a Zis gun as well, so diversifying his roster, starting to move towards resembling a much more standard Soviet force that we're used to seeing, you know, with more sort of multifaceted capabilities. So how much fuel is the Soviet player stacking now? Like, coming up for 100. I think it's wise to go for the Su-85 next. This T-34 has been fine, but you're not in a position where you can start rolling your Axis opponent at all. I think another T-34 doesn't really provide any extra utility or value, and it's gonna all get pretty harshly countered when this Tiger starts being available. Let's quickly check the tech. Battle Phase 2 is finished, so yeah, the Tiger is not far away. I don't think you have time in terms of fuel income to squeeze in another T-34 before you go for the Su-85 this time, so I think I like Su-85 next. That's what I'm trying to say here. This T-34 is getting sort of pinged down a little bit. Molotov comes through, looks like 101st's attention elsewhere for now. Going to get some damage onto that Grenadier squad, falls them back in the end, that's nice. I haven't seen a Molotov opening for so long. It's nice to see Molotovs being used. Repair's going to find on this T-34, so that's going to hopefully mean that that medium tank is safe for the time being. Conscripts converging up here in the north. Looks like Guard's going to be taking the fight in the south, and the Axis player is bit by bit kind of getting beaten down. The Soviet army just has a little bit more nuance, a little bit more diversity to it, and is using those advantages. You know, the Guards provide good DPS. The Maxim here is providing nice amounts of overwatch onto a relevant portion of the map. It's a Katyusha. Okay, all right. I mean, so when I was talking about what fuel unit the Soviet player could get next, the Katyusha did cross my mind, but I didn't actually talk about it out loud because I thought it was a bit of a left field choice. But your opponent has 2 pack guns, which obviously represent plum targets for a Katyusha. They're not fast, they are very fragile, quite easy to decimate with a Katyusha. And you can use the Katyusha over short ranges to blunt an Axis advance. You know, if the Axis player starts running at you with a seemingly like very nasty wave of grenadiers with pokey weapons, you can flail the Katyusha in there, and it basically forces the Axis player to fall back or risk losing squads to a Katyusha barrage, especially if you've got that Katyusha nice and close, so the spread is relatively concentrated on those rockets. And as the game goes on and we start seeing the dynamic evolve in the middle of the map to a more static sort of gunline Overwatch squad, but basically once we see the Axis player get some more MGs, get a mortar squad or something like that, which I think is a good idea, then the Katyusha is a really good insurance policy against those kinds of units as well. I worry though now that there's going to be a Tiger on the field with no real answers. So, I mean, we're not close to getting an Su-85 now. How much is an Su-85 again? It's like 140 or something. 130, okay. I mean, we're not miles away, but the manpower isn't really there. We're at least 2 minutes from putting the Su-85 on the queue, which means that we're at least 3.5 minutes away from the Su-85. I mean, realistically, we're like 4 minutes away from an Su-85 arriving. And the Axis player just needs the manpower, and he can get this Tiger coming out pretty soon. CoH2, though, finding a nice opening barrage. Very nice, getting some great damage onto these Grenadiers. Forces a fallback. Looking like he might have been even able to find a wipe. Oh, he gets the wipe! What? That stray rocket just tagging that Grenadier. So lucky there for PFC. Man, 101st Airborne must be right now doing that like every time with a Katusha first barrage, kind of like, rah! Man, that is rage-inducing, that barrage. Oh, man. Lovely. That is the kind of opening barrage that you always hope for as a Soviet player. Really nice. Finds a squad wipe. That Katusha immediately looking like a smart investment. 101st Airborne as well. He's trying to save manpower right now. He can't really afford to be reinforcing squads, let alone replacing them. So, because he wants to get this Tiger out. So, is Battle Phase 3 done? Okay, my understanding is that you do need that. Yeah, you do need that. So, okay, he hasn't even got Battle Phase 3, so he needs 100 manpower for that. So, this Tiger is actually not as close as I thought. I reckon this Su-85 might even be out in time, you know? Because, yeah, I actually thought he had Battle Phase 3, but he doesn't. And now we've got 2 Pat guns and a load of kind of core infantry squads against a Soviet player who has a machine gun, who has guards, who has a Katusha, who has a Zis gun, who has a T-34. Like, you can't be playing this kind of one-dimensional army against a real Soviet army, you know? This Axis army feels kind of gimmicky at this point. It was fine in the early stages of the game, but we're 22 minutes in and he still hasn't got an MG42. And now he's just lost another Grenadier squad. Sorry, I missed that one. Oh man, I reckon this game is just going to fall away from 101st Airborne at this rate. I mean, he's saving for Tiger, but like, he's so late. Look how his resources have just not at all lined up. He could have had the Tiger like minutes ago if he'd have lined things up a bit better, because, you know, he's not gasping on fuel, and that's usually the limiting variable. So, I mean, this is just a rough situation now for 101st Airborne. He's tried something unusual. Battle Phase 3 comes on the queue, but it's very late. Oh no, he loses a Pioneer Squad. He loses his pack. Okay, that's over. All right, you tried 101st Airborne, but it did not work. A Tiger tank is just not going to be enough to save this one. He's trailing by... If he had the scoreline advantage, this might not be over, but he's so far in the deficit. G43s are really good. Yeah, that's so over. Is that game? That's game, yeah. Alright, so G43s are really good, and you can make them an integral part of your build. You can even lean on them to some extent to do things or to achieve certain builds that you wouldn't be able to do without them. That's fine. But I think going 5 squads of Grenadiers into 5 G43 upgrade packages, yeah, it's pretty powerful. And there were times in the early stages of this game where I was like, whoa, this could be really bad. Whoa. But I feel like this game, the G43s, this strat looks as good as it was ever going to look. The T70 did not appear. If this was a T70 build, then yikes, you know, this Wehrmacht player is going to be in a lot more trouble. Also, if there was like a Maxim or even 2 Maxims added into the roster earlier on, this G43 opening starts looking a lot more dicey. And yeah, I feel like PFC's just his opening strat really kind of played into this G43 opening. Like, he was saving for guards, he was relying on conscripts with Molotovs, all of these things. Like, you know, he delayed T70, he delayed Maxims. All of these things really make the G43s as potent as they're ever really going to be. And we saw some really scary fights where 101st Airborne was overrunning, dealing tons of damage with G43s, able to push with Grenadier blobs around the map. But we're 23 minutes into this game. The resourcing has not lined up for a Tiger. This Tiger could have been here, but he's had to spend manpower on other things over the course of this game. So we're sitting here, we're looking at a Wehrmacht player who's died with 307 fuel in his pocket, and you can't take that fuel into the next game, obviously. You want to try and spend it, and, you know, fuel is arguably the most important resource. Playing, like, squabbling over the fuel defines how the mid-game looks, because that defines who can get their tech and their tanks and things out sooner. But if you never spend that fuel, then, I mean, you know, it's never going to look great for you, is it? And just what an interesting game. Yeah, PFC able to demonstrate here quite safely that if you go for a well-rounded army which has some suppression, which has some indirect fire, which has some anti-tank, which has good core infantry, which has some vehicular support. Those units combine with each other to strengthen and make the whole more efficient than just the sum of the parts. And that's why we see this sort of really sort of mono unit composition just kind of fall apart, because I mean, what do you do when you just have grenadiers and your opponent has a T-34, a Katusha, a Maxim, guards infantry? It's like, it's too much. You need to diversify your roster in response to the fact that your opponent is presenting you with a real army that works together very well. And 101st Airborne not able to do that in this instance. So a weird cluster of games today. I mean, none of them amazing in the conventional sense, but still some very interesting looks. I thought Weckler's take on UKF tech was really interesting as well. So yeah, just some weird stuff. And of course we got to see Jove do what he does best, smash face, which is always nice. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the games as much as I did. I know they were a bit weird and none of them especially close, but again, I kind of think that's fine. They're still interesting, and hopefully we'll catch a close game tomorrow if I get around to casting then. Hopefully, I mean, looks like I will be able to, so I'm excited that there will be some Thursday games being added onto the channel as well. So yeah, that concludes today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and this for now, Magpie842 signing out.